About 3 months ago, I delegated access to my Twitter account, and since then, the results have been absolutely amazing. And if you have a virtual assistant, I would highly recommend that you watch this video and the guide that I'm about to show. And if you don't have a virtual assistant, I would highly recommend that you hire one because you're going to want to by the end of this video. So let's have a look at what the analytics show. Let me just quickly refresh the page. Right, so we are right now in 3 months timeline, and at the bottom, if you were to have a look, right now it's about 800 followers. At the beginning, I had about 200, 250 followers, if I recall correctly. This is primarily to tell you that you don't necessarily need to have like thousands of followers on Twitter already for this to work. This works, and this is actually for smaller accounts pretty much. And in that time, I've gotten 1.6 million impressions, 3,000 plus profile visits, which is the North Star metric for me, at least both on Twitter as well as on pretty much every other social media as well, quite frankly. Then we've gotten about 10,000 likes, 1,000 bookmarks, 65 shares, 700 reposts, and all of that. But the primary metric is profile visits. 3,000 people in 3 months visited my Twitter profile and 1.6 million impressions in total. So if you want to replicate that, I'm going to try and share with you the exact process that I personally used to train my associate, which you can basically use to train yours as well. So this is basically divided into two parts, right? So the first one is for you. These are things that you're going to have to do. And the second part is for your virtual assistant or your marketeer so that they can basically follow through that process. So essentially, you have to do the strategy part as well as the process part. Once you've laid that part out, the virtual assistant or the marketeer can basically take care of the day-to-day execution of it. So this is the page. I will drop a link to that in the video as well. And this basically starts off with two phases. First one is from you in particular. So just go through it. It basically talks about the platform comparison between LinkedIn and Twitter. The reason why I started off with Twitter is basically it has built-in delegation feature available. LinkedIn does not have that. So you're going to have to jump a few hoops for the comments part in particular to be able to do that. But even besides that, I think LinkedIn is a bit more serious where you don't really have room for error. And at least for the first 3 to 6 months, ideally you want to do your first pilot over Twitter. Once you see that your associate is doing well and they really understand your tone and everything on Twitter, then you can bring them onto LinkedIn as well. Then comes the prerequisites and the setup part. So this is where Lego Social basically helps you with. You can feed it your LinkedIn profile and then create one or two custom styles and do a dry run yourself. Once you're comfortable with the style, that means 90 to 95% of the whole thing is basically done. And yeah, the rest of the part is basically telling your virtual assistant or your marketeer what the strategy is going to be. I made a recommendation about what strategy to follow, but that's not like a rule of thumb. You can have a different strategy, but mine is basically 70% of the people in the list that you're going to engage with should ideally be people who have a bigger following in your particular niche. 30% should be accounts which have like lesser followers, so you can actually expect a reply from them, so that you build sort of like a community, etc. So there's that. And then similarly, I've shared the strategy for LinkedIn as well. I've also quoted examples of my own tweets. You can have a look at this. So this one got 15,000 views, plenty of likes and bookmarks as well, 12,000 views, 8,000 views, so on and so forth. All of these were generated by Lego Social's Chrome extension, by the way, and not approved by me, but by my associate. So the second part, once you've taken care of the part in this checklist from your own side, by the way, we've got these checklists that you can follow to make it easier for you. The second part is with your virtual assistant, where they basically firstly have to go through a pilot program. A pilot program is basically you're going to tell them, you're going to give them access to your Twitter account, and they're going to, in a Google sheet, mention 50 replies that they would have dropped into different tweets. And we have a template available for that as well. So you can just basically make a copy of that. This is a sheet that your VA would prepare for you. And once they do, what you have to do is, based on the reply that they added, you can add any final remarks or feedback that you might have had based on their reply. So for example, you might have noticed them doing something specific which you don't like. You can pinpoint that. So that's basically to sort of weed out these kind of things. And very likely there's going to be hardly like 5 or 10 of these feedback items. So yeah, then there's this process which takes about 2 hours for your VA to go through. And then once that part is done, it's basically pretty much daily operations where they're going to do like 50 to 100 applies from your account per day, and you're pretty much good to go. on a weekly basis, you should ask them to basically send you a report. We've added the template for that report in here as well. So they can just copy this and fill the gaps basically, and also take a screenshot. This is basically the process that I personally use. They take a screenshot of the 7 day metrics and they'll just send that to you. So in my case, the last 7 days were quite good. Not as good as the previous 7 days in terms of profile visits. But yeah, 300K impressions in just the last 1 week because our strategy is improving. So we're getting more and more impressions on a weekly basis than we used to in the initial phases. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And there's some answers to FAQs as well. So, for example, if you don't have a VA, how you can find that, how much you should be paying to a VA in case you don't have one. How do you know if the VA is posting quality comments? So, I've gone through like all of these different things in the last 3-ish months. So, everything that I could think of, I've put over here. And I've also shared case studies because these are articles that I wrote on medium.com for LinkedIn as well as Twitter. So, feel free to have a look at that. And the last thing that I will mention before I close this video out is that once you have trained a person on Twitter, the next logical step should be training them using your LinkedIn company page instead of your personal profile, because company page is something that you can give delegate access to your virtual assistant or your marketing associate. And if you're doing 10 to 50 comments from a company page on LinkedIn, that has massive benefits because I've tried that about six, not six actually. I think that was back in Jan or Feb of this year, so probably about 8 9 months before. And during that time, we were getting about I think 200 followers on a weekly basis. That was just with like 10 to 20 comments per day. So it works on LinkedIn, it works on Twitter, but start with Twitter and then make your way to LinkedIn. So I hope this helps. And if you have any questions, you can drop them in the comment section. Have a nice day. Bye.